Welcome to the GoPROcast, where we invite business doers who are changing lives by sharing their stories, their strategies and tactics, and who bravely talk about their failures that actually led to their biggest successes. Now it's time to Go Pro with Jeremy Torisk. Hey everybody, thank you for joining me this week on the GoPROcast. This is the show where we change our mindset from reactive to proactive. We develop our drive by examining our whys, and we build our brand by building personal relationships. Speaking of building personal relationships, I met a person in, I think it was West Palm Beach, the first time I met Jacob at a Tony Robbins Business Mastery event. And it's kind of like serendipity because Jacob wasn't even in my section. He sat somewhere else. We're all kind of cordoned off in the first couple of days, and we met and just bonded. And let me tell you a little bit about Jacob. Jacob is, first and foremost, a father and a husband. And he's a husband and a father of three awesome little kids. And he is the CEO of Scooters Lawn Care and landscaping company with locations in Illinois and Florida now. Jacob coaches other business services through his coaching group, GROW Comm. And you can catch Jacob and his wife, Nicholle, on his great podcast show called Grow by Design. It's a really good show, and it really doesn't just talk about landscaping. It really does broaden up, and you could apply his advice to other businesses. So let's give a great big GoPROcast welcome to my friend, my son's mentor, Jacob Godar.
Thank you so much, man. I'm really excited to be here with you and spend some time today.
Yes, we've been trying to get this together for a while. Our schedules, both of us, we are definitely podcasting is not our life. It's icing on our cakes. It's a way to talk to people and reach as many people as possible. However, we both have very, very packed schedules, and your move to the southwest part of Florida, we're in the southeast part of Florida, with the family. That is a handful. How's that been going for you?
It's been going great. I mean, things have been wild. Our rental house that we were renting when we first came down here is now no longer, and we have actually just purchased our first home here, and got moved into that. So I think we've committed to not moving for a while because we've been house to house to house for a long, long time, and we're ready to settle down a little bit.
Well, three little ones, you should be good to go until they're ready to go to college. Really. And we know when they come over here to the University of Miami, it's just 90-minute drive to see the football games.
There you go.
So basically, Jake, I like to kind of start off the show and ask people, I say like us, but anybody, it's human nature to see people being interviewed and think that this is the way you've always been. The polished version of Jacob. So tell us about little Jacob, about where you come from, the family you grew up in, and then how you kind of started getting into business.
Yeah, it's crazy. You're right. Well, it starts and there's so much change that happens over time. And when I was a little kid, it's kind of just the normal thing, but I really quickly got just totally ate up with and totally consumed with racing motorcycles. I did all the little kid stuff, but I was always wanting to be around like a four-wheeler or this or that or the other. And by the time I was probably like 10, I went full blown into racing. And
where was that?
That was in Illinois. So that was in Jacksonville, Illinois is where I grew up. My dad had 35 acres. We had a motocross track at the house.
So that's right outside of Chicago then?
Yeah. That's what everybody says.
Not really, right?
In Illinois, right outside of Chicago. Closer to St. Louis, actually, about 3.5 hours south. But that's kind of really, like you said, what brings someone to make them what they are today. I really contribute like racing and how much you have to try and go through a lot of pain and agony and be in good shape and constantly be working on yourself to be better, to really be good at it.
Yeah.
I contribute almost all that to who I am now.
Definitely fuels the competitive
for sure
part of your development, right?
Yeah, because that chewed up from that time on, probably 10 on till 2022 was all racing and a little bit.
That's a big commitment from the family.
Yeah, Yeah.
Right.
It was a financial challenge. It was a personal challenge. I suffered major industry injuries. And that was even at the beginning. I remember, I think I was 13 or 14 when I had my
Gosh.
first bad injury where I crushed 3 vertebrae, broke teeth out, broke my wrist the first time, and punctured a lung, and spent 3 or 4 days in intensive care. So yeah,
Wow.
we went through.
That's huge.
Yeah, that was one of my near death instances. I've had 2. They're 14 years apart every time. So 14, 28. That's usually. I'm not looking forward to the next 14 years.
Hopefully it's not 14. Hopefully it just doubles. So 14 was the first, then 14. That'll be 28 years until that one, and then
hopefully it's just not another, like, let's let it be
if
something
you're living
normal.
life,
Yeah. So yeah, it was wild, and it was a strain on a lot of things, but there was a lot of, as anybody knows, with pain and struggle, there's a lot of growth. So
yeah. And then I know, we're friends, so I know about your story, but I want to try to ask the questions in a way to kind of feed the machine here.
yeah.
So can we talk a little bit about what you did before you opened a business? Maybe some of the jobs you were in, and how did that morph into your entrepreneurial spirit, or was it always there?
Yeah. So, well, there is an interesting thing about my story, and especially with like the entrepreneurial spirit part of it. I remember from even before racing and way back into the past that before I could even drive, I asked my mom to take me to, like, I always say chamber of council. I don't know what it was, but whatever building in the city does business events. And I wanted to go to something before I had a driver's license on learning how do you make a business plan?
Wow.
There was always some spark there. I remember I told Oliver this, and he's like, God, if I wanted to do that when I was that young, look where I'd be.
Yeah, our buddy Oliver Fernandez.
Yeah, he is the man. But so it started young, and I didn't know why. I don't know why I was drawn to it. I always wanted to do something that was my own. I think that's why I ended up in a lot of sports that were mainly focused just on one person. And so that started with that, and I quickly learned. I sat down and listened to that business course, and I was like, man, you're saying it takes this long to make a business plan? That is a joke. That is insane. It will never take me that long. But
Right, you knew already at a young age,
yeah, so
mid-teens.
it kind of, from there, like I said, life happened, got into racing, got into, I needed to earn money, and I started out some random jobs, and I ended up landing in a landscaping company. It was probably the best paying job that I'd had, and I started kind of moving up the ladders there. And I learned a lot. It was a kind of a challenging place to work. The work environment was challenging, a little bit with the owner, and a little bit just with everything in general, because weather and the conditions of, you don't deal with as much snow, but up there in Illinois, there's a lot of brutal weather. So I went from that, and I always knew, I kind of like, man, I want to do some of this stuff on the side. I'd kind of like to do something on the side. I remember we were like detailing motorcycles and cars, and we're always trying to do something. I was like, oh, why don't we have our own business?
Yeah.
And, so the idea was just floating. And then I got in.
Were your parents, I just want to figure out a little bit more where you saw that because that's not normal. Were your parents, did they have 9-to-5s kind of?
Yeah, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad worked for UPS. That's
almost like a calling then. Just
yeah.
happened.
Yeah, I don't know what, like, I was always drawn to this individual stuff. And yet the bigger a business gets, it's not individual anymore. But at first it's you doing it all for yourself,
Yeah.
And that's how sports were, like I like track. I like racing dirt bikes. I didn't really like the group stuff. And so yeah, this kind of just kept going, and I kind of had these urges. I was wanting to do something. So then I knew I liked the automotive industry. I knew I liked cars. I started working on some auto body stuff on the side and learning. And then I got a job in a body shop. And that quickly, I could make this story, I could drag this story out forever. But really what happened is I started painting cars all night long. I was always wanting to earn my own money. I didn't want to just get paid from what I did at work. And it came to like the critical mass point where I was like, okay, I'm either going to, originally it was going to be, I was going to buy a body shop. And I went through the whole process of planning. And I remember like, wow, there was a body shop. I didn't even talk to the owner. Like we were all but like going out and trying to get the loan and figure out how we were going to do it. And I was like, man, this just doesn't make sense. This is so expensive per month. And I have no idea what I'm doing. and just to clear like the monthly nut of the business. It just didn't make sense. So
yeah, because the body shop has a lot of physical land, building and
land assets,
frame benders and major tools.
Yeah, there's so much,
and a huge team too.
Huge team, all this overhead. And so some more time passed. I did more working at home and working in the evenings. And then all of a sudden I was like, man, I was in the landscape industry. I've got a weed eater, I've got a mower, I've got a blower. And I remember asking my roommate, is like, hey, you want to go out and start knocking some doors and get some accounts and kind of do this? That's beautiful.
It's burning, baby. That's where it is.
Yeah.
Use what you got.
Exactly. So I started just kind of doing that on the side. Funny note, this roommate, I don't think ever helped me one day. Like, he committed to helping. I was never had that help.
Yeah.
And it just took off from there. So there was always this inkling that I wanted to do something. And then once that idea, like, I was like, okay, the body shop was too expensive. And it's not like I put that much thought into this, but the mowing, I was like, I have the things and I can start with nothing and go. And if I'm good, I can go far. And if I'm not good, I've still got my job.
So let me ask you this, and I'm setting you up, Mr. Go Fast, Speed, Thrill, motorcycle, ATVs. How did you used to get to work to that body shop?
Oh, yeah. Hence the name. So many people are like, Scooter Boy, Scooter this, or what's your nickname? Yeah, Scooter right there everywhere. Yeah, my mentor that really helped me at that body shop, that helped me get started in business, who's a true inspiration to me overall. I had a moped and I brought it to work, and one day he called me Scooter Boy. And along the process of mentoring me, when I remember asking him, I was looking at insurance. I'm like, Jimmy, we got to make this thing legitimate. And I'm like, I need insurance and I need a name. And he said, I don't know why you wouldn't call it Scooter's Lawn Care. And I'm like,
bam.
It's funny. At first, I thought that was ridiculous. I was like, that sounds silly, Jimmy. And it's stuck, and it's been different. And in my industry, it's so flooded with green grass and cut this and cutting edge. And it was nice to not be just the same as everybody else.
Yeah. And so when you started that was pre-children, right?
Yeah.
Was, just, in fact, were you even married at the time, or you were single?
Yeah, we've been together ever since the beginning. So funny story that you asked that. And I don't know if you know this. I was an exceptional, and I'm not trying to brag on myself that much, but I was an exceptional employee and I cared about where I worked. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, and I think
those are the intangibles that you.
Yeah. And I think that's why I'm pretty good at doing what I do, because I care about everything, and I put in my, in my industry, sometimes it'd be great to even have a week's notice, but
yes.
I put in my 2-month notice.
Wow.
So they could start planning, because I was young, but I was a big part of that body shop. I was one of the 2 people who fixed all the cars, that did the actual bending and the welding that you were talking about. And he was a great mentor to me. I'm still friends with him now. He's a great inspiration in my life. And along this process of putting the 2 months in and knowing that my quit date was a hard April, right,
just when everything's thawing out too. So you have foresight to that.
Yeah, and
that's like going into business in Illinois for cutting grass in December, right?
Yeah, and so I'd done this on the side the year before, and I think I had 25 accounts. I was going into my first full-time, quitting the job where I was making almost $60,000 a year, and I'm just going to do this full-time. And so as that is happening, I'd had my first house, all these things were transpiring. Me and Nicholle were together. And along that process, I remember I've got a 3-bedroom, like 950 square foot house, and I'm in the 3rd little bedroom I'm on a computer. There's pictures of me with a big dry erase board behind me. And I remember her walking in and looking super, super freaked out. We'd got engaged, I think, like a month before that. And she walked in and she said, she was crying almost. And she's like, I'm pregnant.
Okay. Well,
so this is all hitting.
Talk about incentive.
Yeah. So that was really the start of the business. I put in my time. I had to make it work. Looking back, I'm like, I don't know how I thought the numbers made sense and how that was going to work. And then you throw that on top of it, and it was pretty much make it work. That was the option.
So one of my favorite sayings, Don Shula, is it's the start that stops most people.
Yeah.
And so my history, kind of same thing, go giver, go getter, very early age, helping my uncle stir concrete at 4 years old, to pour the hole, fill the holes up for the fence posts, and just always out there trying to help. But why do you think it is that it's so hard to get for people to start? They have an idea, either it's business or they want to better themselves in some reason, but it's that start that stops them. What do you think that comes from? Because we don't have that in us. So where do you think that is? Because people we hire and work with, a lot of them have it, and they have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
So to understand it is important to help the people in our lives. What do you think of that phenomenon?
I think I'm just super, super hard headed. I think what stops most people is like, it is really scary and you don't know. So it's the ability to walk into something and just have some kind of faith that it's going to work out. And I think one of people's biggest needs is certainty and security. And this situation, what we're talking about starting, really throws that out the window. There is no security. There is no guarantee. It's up to you to make it work. And I think that's a lot of people's biggest fear is, maybe they haven't accomplished a lot in their life. And yeah, it could be great to start this own thing, but hey, I've never accomplished anything in my life. Who's to say I can do this? And to know I'm giving away any type of security I may think I have, which is pretty much, that's the biggest issue, is there's not really any security anywhere. It's just,
well, that's a false belief that if you work for a company 9 to 5, even with a pension and 401, that's secure.
Yeah. It just feels secure.
It feels, but it's not.
Yeah. And it's what you don't know. It's really what you don't know that makes you feel secure. If you knew more about what all transpired, what goes on, you would realize a lot of those things that you look at like security could be gone like this, even though they've been promised to you forever.
Yeah, that's right. So let me ask you this then, as it comes up and you try new things, and things work or they don't work, how do you process rejection? Because sales is a part of any entrepreneur business, just about, no matter what the industry is, and your industry, my son's industry, it's all sales really at the beginning. That's how you get the relationship. How do you process rejection, especially younger?
So this was another natural thing that I don't know. And maybe it was because where a lot of parents, I think it was something to do with my parents here. So I just remember as a little kid there was this natural thing. My dad's best friend is a business owner. So maybe that could be some of it. And he always said he saw a lot of himself in me. He just says,
interesting.
He just says all the time, and I never even really knew what he did though, so it's not like I just watched it and I liked it, but he always said, he's like, anytime Jacob wants something, he will not stop until he gets it.
Yeah. You were probably respected him in a lot of ways. And that must've been a validation.
Well, and this was super young. Like, he's like, I just remember. And he's like, that's why I knew you would always be fine, because no matter what, at any age, you wanted the dirt, like you wanted this, you wanted that. Like, it did not matter. You did not stop until you got, like, you headed in the direction you wanted to go. And so how do you process rejection? I just keep going. I just keep trying. Like, like, if you're doing like door knocking or something, you can't, to get good at doing this stuff, it's about like, who do I have to become to be what I want to be, and I can't be the person that gets sad and upset and cares. I have to just keep going, and I have to just keep trying, because moving forward is the only option, especially when I was in the situation I was in. Like, the only option was going somewhere,
That's right. Yeah. With the fiance and then the pregnant in the house.
Yeah.
And I actually still hate the advice some people give young people about get into debt, because that will inspire you to work harder. And I think it's horrible advice, but you got into a different kind of debt, a very much of a life debt, where other people were depending on your success. And so I don't think that's so bad. I know it wasn't planned, but so as you grew your business there in Illinois and you started, when's the first time you realized it's okay to add people? Because now you're affecting other families if this doesn't work out. I always took that with a huge responsibility, hiring people.
I did. What's really funny, I don't know if I think racing, knowing that like starting and going and this race could be the time that you die. I don't know if that affected some of how I think about things. Because yeah, even though I get stressed out, like I'm Mr. Money Scarcity. That's always one of my biggest things.
Yeah.
But like, really, that's why I ended up at Tony Robbins conferences, was to try to start overcoming that. But so I don't know. Like, I remember just knowing very soon, like, I'm like, I got to have more people to get where I want to go. This is just never going to happen fast enough. So even from the beginning, I immediately was like, hey, Dad, can you help me some on some little things? And then shortly after that, it was like cash for this, friend's son to help me.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I hired people. I did it part-time, and I had a little bit of help on the part-time thing because it was just weekends. My dad would come help me. But that first year, I was already hiring people. And I see people not hiring, and it's like I didn't care about what I made. I cared about what I was going to make. And I just
treated the
remember
business as a life. So what is the business making?
Yeah.
Business.
And I knew that I don't know why I knew, but I was like, I know that I need growth. I know that there needs to be more. And I know I'm not going to get what I want to get quick enough, and it needs more people to help create that. So I don't know how I knew, and I don't know why I knew it was right to get people, but I knew that everything needed to expand to get where I was shooting to go. And I just remember first 3 years of business, if people worked overtime, they made more money than I made.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
I didn't make shit, and I lived poor, and I did, I just did whatever it took.
Yeah,
And
from 60 grand a year, were you making that your first 2 years in business? Take home?
I was probably, maybe by the third year of business, I was maybe making 50.
That's
maybe,
a big step back.
Yeah. So,
because those $10,000, and that was your third year. I mean, that's a
and
huge step.
it may have been the second year. I can't, probably the second year. Because the second year we did, the first full-time year, we did like 108,000. And so maybe I did. I remember that was my goal. Like, by the third year, get back to investing. It took me longer to get back to investing than the third year. But things came around, and it wasn't that painful. But I just remember, dude, anybody that worked overtime, I just remember looking at their checks. And yeah, I might be getting paid throughout the year, and they might be working a shorter portion. But I was looking at someone's check, I'm like, God, he worked overtime. He made more money than me.
Yeah.
It is insane.
Yeah.
But I knew, like, even from the beginning, what helped me was getting into it. I knew it was going to be super, super hard, and I didn't expect to work less or it to be easy. I had a good idea of where I was going.
So your mindset was not to hire people to make your life easier. It's to hire people to grow the business.
Yeah.
Exponentially more equals bigger, not more bigger equals easier.
Yeah. Yeah. It was never easier.
What was the biggest or the hardest task to delegate when you start hiring a team? You give up things you don't like to do. Well, what is the thing that you had to give up because you just knew someone did it better, but man, it's kind of pivotal or important? What was the hardest thing?
I don't think there was things that I necessarily was like, they're going to do it better. But I remember the field stuff was no big deal, because I was always like, I'll go out there, I'll do some training, I'll be involved. I'm really handy with anything. So that stuff, I can answer anybody's problem and fix their issues, which at the same time can also be a problem, because you get married to stuff even if you don't want to be. But I remember the biggest, scariest things to delegate was, I remember I thought when Zoe started for me very, very early on. I remember when Zoe,
she's your admin, basically your office, chief of staff.
Yeah, she's everything. And I remember very, very early on, I was like, man, nobody's ever going to be able to do billing besides me. I'm going to have to do all of this billing all of the time. I'm going to have to pay all the bills all the time. And when she finally first started charging cards and doing all the billing for me, I was like, man, I never thought someone else would be able to do that. And it was so scary. And it kept being like that. I was like, no one's ever going to be able to handle the scheduling. And I guess those were the things. It was the office, bulky, hard, you could screw up, because she's also made huge screw ups by accidentally charging the wrong thing and having to refund it. And that happens. That's a part of it.
Yeah.
But those were the scariest things, because I saw the biggest room for error. Like, you don't schedule 30 jobs and somebody gets forgotten and then they get mad, like scheduling too. And those little things over time, like each time I think it can't happen, it just slowly happens again.
Yeah. And so tell us about wanting to move that business venture and splitting it into almost like a stock, right? You're splitting it up,
Yeah.
starting, keeping the Illinois prod, and that you got what? I mean, I know you grew, but you also absorbed other companies. We did too with Garrett's company. That's the way it is in lawn care. It's a good option. But towards the end, when you were deciding to move, you took a big step, right? And really swung for the fences. And at the same time, or very soon after, decided to leave the state.
Yeah.
Really halfway across the country. So let us know a little bit about how that played out in your head and your heart and your gut, that you knew it was going to work.
Well, so I'd done this before. So I tried this early. I tried it way too early in business in probably 2017. And it wasn't so much it was too early in business. It was too early. Like I put some management people in control in Illinois and they weren't right. And they ended up fizzling out while I was gone. So we
Did you
operated.
know that though in the back of your head now looking back, or no?
Yeah, probably. You think that's probably like if somebody gets one thing from this that is super, super meaningful is that you think like certain connections in your life because you know something, the people they connect you to, if it's family or it's friends or whatever, you have this preconceived idea that they will never take advantage of me. They will never do wrong, and that's how it was. The people I hired were our best friends. Like one of the key people that got the other person to start was our best friend's dad.
Mm.
And I'm like, this is fine. This will be good. There's no
Got
way
your
this person
interests at
would.
heart.
Yeah, you got like my interest at heart, and that was the recording that kept getting played to me, and that's not true. Like that's almost always been the downfall
Yeah.
of everything. I've hired friends. I've fired all of my friends I've ever hired. I think I actually do have another. I'm going to break that rule now because I do have another friend that started in a more of a high up position, but he brings a lot of a lot of skill, and I know we can work well together. But from a field position view of
Yeah.
it, I think I've fired, and that sounds bad, but it's just business. This is important to say. I've had to fire all of the friends I've hired except for one because they
Well, it
thought it
doesn't
would
sound
be.
bad. It sounds like you got enough intelligence to know that a drowning person will drown you too. And so some
Yeah,
people they don't fire their friends because they don't want to break that relationship, or they feel it will cost their friendship. And so they'll let their business actually die
yeah.
because they don't want to do something they're uncomfortable doing.
Yeah, and it's never fun to fire anybody,
Mm-mm.
but I go back to this all the time. You get on the airplane, they tell you to put the mask on you before you put it on
Yeah.
your kid.
And you can
And
do
if
it with integrity too.
exactly. And if you don't realize that that's how everything is, if you don't take care of the business before everybody else, the whole business will die.
Yeah.
And it's not about one person feeling good. I love the saying of there should be no emotion in business except for celebration, because that's the case. Like
There's no
I
crying
can't.
in baseball.
Yeah, you can't get emotional about this, and things happen, and things are hard, and you have to do really, really hard stuff,
So your
Um,
second go around, when you decided you bought that other company, which again, it was a huge deal. I don't know if you
mhm.
want to get into specifics, spend a minute in there, but it was a big commitment.
Yeah.
And then right after that, you moved down here to the Southwest Florida area. It
Yeah.
took how were the signs different? What were the tea leaves telling you? What was the difference to let you know that because didn't work the first time, that this time I see more things aligned? What were some of those things?
So that's what made it feel better is that I'd done this once and I wasn't failing at running the business here. It was growing really fast. And so I just looked at everything that I screwed up the first time. That's what any business owner does. They're like, hey, I'm going to screw up multiple times. I'm going to look at everything I screwed up and try to figure out how to not do it again. Just change until it's right. And I looked and I went to my team and we just done the acquisition of the business. Yeah, like you said, it was like a somewhere between 700,000 to 900,000 a year maintenance business, and we were making all that happen. That was last quarter of the following year, or
That's
the
hot.
previous year. Yeah, it was wild, and I don't know, something over the winter had happened, and things were just crazy, and we were rocking and rolling. But I always hated the downtime of the winter, and we got out of plowing snow in Illinois.
Oh,
And
really?
I remember looking to the office and saying, "Hey, do you think? I think we vacationed down here a couple times." And I'm like, "Do you think? Do you think you could run? would it be bad if I went, started another location? You think this would be okay? Because now I had people that were long-term committed. It wasn't somebody that I just hired to try to fill this need of us wanting to go start a separate location. It was people that are here and they're here to stay now and that they want to do this long term. And when we sat down, we had like a little meeting over it and they said, yeah, I don't see why we couldn't do that. And
Did you give them any ownership, not maybe stock, but how do you get them to buy in, feeling like you're really leaving something very important in their charge? And how do you get that accountability and buy-in from them?
So I just, you know, I don't know who said this, but casting a vision so big that everybody else's vision fits inside of that.
I love it.
And so with that being said, like, I think that's what I've always tried to do. And anyone that, like, those people in my office, and that's really who I'm talking about here, the three people that are key and pivotal in my company, they've seen enough stuff happen for long enough that they believe that it's going to continue getting better if we continue all working together. So I just leaned on them and said, hey, this is what I want to do. I don't know what this is going to look like. I don't know what the upsides are going to look like for you guys. There are things I'm wanting to do. I originally told them, though, I mean, I've got no problem with you guys someday buying out a portion of this, or me even like handing over a portion of this, because we're all family. But so the conversation, it's crazy to know that they've all been amazing. And I didn't really give much extra stake because I was still going to be really involved. I was going to come to morning meetings. I'm still going to be involved in all these pivotal things that are going to happen. But so now we're like 8 or 9 months into this process. And now I've really got heavy on, I want everybody, like, my goal now is like, I'm starting to say it all the time. I'm like, I make 6-figure earners. I make 6-figure earners. Like, that's what I want to do. And I won't feel successful unless I make those people make a lot of money, and then more people within the company. So they know that, like, they've seen the process of how we're rolling out a profit sharing plan, and we're going to start incentivizing more and more and more. And they've all went from a place where they're all can speak to, they've made the most money they've ever made already.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. It's not enough for me. I don't think it's a big enough gap. But so they were already trending in such a good path that it was exciting for them. It was exciting for me. And now we get to really crank that up and see what cool, almost like ownership things we can create.
Yeah. And so how did you transfer your business acumen and your experiences into wanting to be more creative and start sharing the wealth of knowledge that you have with a digital audience that we have at our disposal these days with the YouTube channel and the podcast? Because this was you got a lot on your plate with the family and the kids and the two different it's not bi-coastal, but damn near, Illinois and South Florida,
17-hour drive.
Yeah. So how do you, where do you have the time, and where does that drive come from to want to share that?
Well, it all started with a YouTube channel in the very beginning. And I did this YouTube channel out of that first three bedroom house with a 2.5 car garage. And that just grew and grew and grew. And I just realized a lot of people started asking questions because I was always very business oriented. I heard a lot of people talk about how hard it was to start a business. And when I went out and started a business, I read a bunch, and it was challenging, but I didn't think, it's like the information was there and I applied it and it worked. And I was always very numbers oriented. And I think that's where a lot of people have a challenge with. And so I wanted to just share that stuff. So a lot of people started asking questions, and over time, it just got to be too, I can only answer so many questions. And we started to kind of morph that into, hey, how can we help some of these people?
Yeah.
And really, it's funny. It's funny how, like, in line all of these things are. The very first time we really tried to push that out was the first time we were going to Florida. And it kind of, with all the stress of things having to be shut down, it kind of like, it started up and then it kind of fizzled out because of that happening. And now with the second time, we've really ramped things up and just tried to help as many people as we can help. So we've taken that to, YouTube has obviously got a lot bigger. We've started the podcast. We've got the platform online where we do coaching. We've got our own Facebook group, and we even have a platinum level where we're bringing in awesome people outside of the industry to speak their expertise. Jeremy, he's already been asked to be a part of that as well. And really just like what we do with everything, what all entrepreneurs that are going to win do is they focus on how do we bring more value to people.
That's right. Serving heart and adding value. You go through life like that. It's hard to lose if that's in your DNA.
Yep.
So I don't ask everybody the same question except for this one because it's so important. It played such a huge role in my life in the past, multiple times, and hopefully, like your near death experience, it won't play too many more roles. But I know if and when it does, I'm ready for them. But can you tell my peeps a little story about adversity, something that happened in the past that you thought just was going to blow everything up? No getting around this, or just going to change your heart or something, but you got through it. And now looking back, you go, I wouldn't be here right now without that. But at the time, that tide was so high, you didn't feel like it was a forever change or impact. Do you have any of those?
Yeah, I mean, I do, and this was something that was kind of hard for me to think of at first, and or kind of hard to come to mind. But really, like I'd mentioned the scarcity of money thing. It was something, and I still have it. It's just I control it a lot better. It's weird, but so this was a turning point for me because this business and having that scarcity and what it was causing was really like wrecking my marriage. Like it was going to cause everything to probably implode. And I don't know how I would have handled things if that happened. But I just remembered I was constantly worried about everything all the time. And my wife to this day still says, she's like, there's never been a problem that you haven't been able to overcome, even though you're like spastic about it. So she's like, I wish you'd just shut up about the problems because every time there's a problem, a week later, you're super excited about all the new stuff.
Yeah.
And, but so this is like overcoming this and really learning that, like, I guess just getting, I would have never used the word like abundance before. Like back when I was younger, I would have never even said a word like abundance and thought about how I do now. But realizing like that there's total unlimited abundance and going through this process. And that's what I got into conferences. And that's why I think I want to help people.
Yeah.
Is I mean, really what led me to you was my scarcity mindset. I started at a Tony Robbins conference because I was like, dude, I got to do something about how I am. And I went to a UPW. Have you ever been to a UPW?
No, I've only been to that. I've been to 2 Tonys, both mindset or money mastery here and one in Europe.
Yeah.
But business 1 and 2.
Okay. So they do, I think it's called the Dickens process, where they kind of correlate like your worst, like this problem you have, if you continue, what are the horrible things that'll happen in your life? And basically it causes 10,000 people in the room to bawl their eyes out. And I remember being in there and correlating, like, if I continue acting the way I act about something that may or may not even actually be an issue, it's just in my head that it's an issue. What's it going to do? And then, I'm tying this to how it's going to ruin my marriage and ruin my relationship with my kids, and probably
You visualize that.
Visualize this with my, wreck the business. And I think that was a big turning point for me because it opened up. I went there, and then I wanted to go to, after that, that's where I bought my ticket to go to the Palm Beach one. From the Palm Beach one, I started going to other events just because I wanted to see, and I wanted to be around people that, like, yeah, some of these people are faking it. Some of these people are making it, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's how it is everywhere. But I wanted to truly be around that abundance as much as possible because it's real and it's there. And it half of it is mindset and kind of being in tune with just driving and having faith, and that was a big turning point for me. I don't know that things would have continued the way they were going if.
Well, I think proximity, the power of proximity for me has always been very impressive. The people that are in my life today, that I allow in my life, that I follow, I'm influenced by, 2 or 3 of them came from that day I met you. You and Oliver, 2 of the people specifically, and Oliver was in my group. So I met Oliver kind of like he was assigned by God or whatever, the universe. But you were just in the freaking aisleway away from your group, kind of just wandered away, and we just, what do you do? What do you do? And Garrett was just starting. I think he was maybe a weekend or 2, or literally it was July, I think, or December. February. I don't remember, but it was starting in landscape business at 18 years old, and that's what you did. And I was like, I gotta just get your number, and we just bonded, So that we wouldn't have been there if that, you put yourself in the place where you even by chance meet people who are going your way.
And then once you start seeing that was the other thing. So I wanted to be around people that would help expand me to like, because a lot of it, it's like you just get fearful. Just like you asked, like, why do people have such a hard time starting? You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so you're afraid of it. So why not, like, if I'm afraid of money, there's a million people that are in much worse situations that have lost everything and have come back however many times. and so I can go to these people and I can be around these people and they can help me navigate what I'm doing. And it's just like I sat down, I still do these things. I sat down at an event earlier this year and I told someone my current situation. I said, I'm a little stressed. I don't really know what I should do. I got this business going here, I got this going here. And I'm like, I don't know if I should just push. I just was like, just put this out to the world to him. And he's like, it doesn't really sound like you're taking that much risk. I mean, I think you should just go all in. He's like, if you want some more money, I'll invest. And I'm like, wow. Just those conversations really change the way you think, because when you don't know something, you just initially get fearful of it and then you shy away. So
yeah. I listened to Jewel on Joe Rogan just this morning, and she's really good. I love listening to comedians and songwriters talk philosophically or how their mind has evolved, because my mind is that way. It just seems to be akin to those types of people.
Yeah.
And she said some great stuff. That's a great interview, her most recent one. But being a South Florida guy, the tide coming in and going out, knowing that that's life, nothing is going to last forever. No situation. Yeah. But if you start to, and it's one thing to sit there and understand, as she said, that the tide goes in, and this was in Alaska, so it's much different than the Atlantic Ocean going in and out. But it saved your life. The philosophy, the mindset of nothing is forever and everything in the universe changes.
Yeah.
And am I so different that I think as low as I am, I'm not going to change? And that physically saved her life a few times. So I think the biggest effect that I've seen, and I had to adapt, is I've always believed that, not always, because I had a troubled time too, but I always just kind of knew instinctively this isn't forever, but I'd never asked for help, and I never admitted to anybody anything. And I've always played the cards close. And once I opened up and saw the effects of that, it depends who you open up to. That's another skill too.
Open up to the right people. Yes.
Going to the right people, which is the power of proximity. But that was the biggest game changer for me, is, putting it out, even just putting it out in the universe, because I was so close, I didn't even want to talk about it or think about it. Yeah. But putting it out in the universe, one way or the other, creates such little shifts that lead to bigger shifts. That old 1 degree on the ocean could lead, down the timeline to hugely different outputs that you never would have saw coming.
Yeah. I love the 1 degree shift in any way that's correlated, like on the plane or whatever, that, you go 5 hours, 1 degree makes a big difference.
Huge difference.
It's just crazy. Like you said, putting stuff, the more you learn, the more your mind becomes open. And like just the whole putting it out in the universe conversation, I would have never been that person 5 years ago to say something like that. Now I'm totally like, all I do is try to put good stuff out of the universe. All I try to do is add value. All I try to do is work on this and make this better all the time. My head better all the time.
It's all the 6 inches of real estate right here, man.
Yeah,
that's it.
Very, very important property, right?
So tell us, we're coming to the end of our time. I like to keep these things under a certain time because people just don't have patience. I love Joe Rogan's 3 hours. I want to get there one day, but right now, I think we have so much more we could talk about. But tell us a little bit about Growcom, because I want to wrap this up with letting people know that they can get in touch with you and find out how to grow. Is it just landscaping businesses, or what kind of people that you're looking for?
No, I mean, we have other service businesses in there. Business is business. And this is more just, you want to get around people that want to grow. In our industry, it's really bad that a lot of the little groups on Facebook, and they're a joke. It's a bunch of people bringing crude comments to the situation and not really adding much value. And really, that's where we wanted to make a safe place where people can really be focused, you know, feel comfortable saying anything, and have access to other people all the time, helping them grow their company, get better, get through the problems, kind of put a lifeline out there to do what I did through conferences. But a lot of people don't do, like you said, you kept it close. You didn't ask for help. A lot of people don't go out there and ask for help, try to get things, try to get better. Kind of throw a little lifeline out there for them that costs a lot less for them to start the conversation of having other people help them. And get some of this. I just wanted to take what I got from all of this and try to help give that to more people. So that is our platform to do that. You can get in contact with me right through there.
Yes, that's the best way then to get in touch with you. And there is, I know you have, I don't know where it is, but you have a Calendly link. Is that what they
yeah, you can get in through there. I mean, you can message right through the website as well. But yeah, you can take either option. I don't do much like individual coaching stuff, but if you want to do that, there's options there. There's a Calendly link to do that. You can
good way to just get some time with you, right? Just 15 or 20 minutes to.
Yeah. And you can get, I mean, in GrowCom, it's a great platform. I mean, it's just a monthly subscription thing that opens it into be in the group with all the other members on the Facebook page, get help from everybody.
Community.
Community brings value. You know, and the more people that in that community that have more different aspects, like this person, like we said, you know, this person isn't scared of this issue because he's fixed this issue. This woman has been through this. Now they can both help each other because they have the opposite problems. And so that's built up. And then I try to bring everything I can do with a weekly call. I'm super open and available to everyone in there. So yeah, it's a great way to connect for sure.
Well, I appreciate you, buddy. I do. We will talk again. I'll be speaking to your group there shortly, and we will have you back on for sure sometime next year, coming to the end of 21 here. All right, my friend. Thank you very much. We will talk to Jacob. We'll keep you all informed on his developments, how the company is doing, how Growcom is doing. I'm looking forward to maybe taking part of that. And you can find me at JeremyTorisk.com. Remember, my last name is Torisk, and my blood type is B positive. So how could you go wrong there? So look me up, get in touch with me, and love to speak with you on a Zoom virtual coffee. And until next time, my friends, take care.